Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.
Welcome to episode 24 of the Two Bobs Cast. We're an A to Z rock and metal podcast coming to you live every single week, doing a different letter of the alphabet. Today we are on the letter O, and I am here with my partner, as always, Mr. H. What's up, Mr. H?
What's up?
How you doing, partner?
Doing well.
Good to hear. So today, like I said, we are on O. And we are on the great Ozzy Osbourne.
The wizard.
And trying to understand him. It's funny. He has the radio station on Sirius XM and Boneyard. So we'll be driving, me and my son driving along, and they'll have an interview with him, or he'll be saying something. My son's like,
what's the guy's name that hosts it? I always think he's somebody else. Oh, Billy Morris, right? Billy Morrison or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah,
I always think of Billy Morris, the local musician, Sunset Strip guy that was in Kid Wicked.
Okay. Yeah.
I always think of Billy Morris, and I'm like, it's not the same guy, but he's got the same name or something. But he hosted Ozzy show, or he interviews him. I guess a friend of his or whatever.
Yeah, it's funny. You can't understand a word he says, and then you start singing, and you understand it crystal clear.
It is a crazy thing.
It's one of those, like Tom Petty was like that too. He had a real big Southern drawl, and but singing, you wouldn't even know he has any kind of, you can anyway. So that's Ozzy for us. So it was pretty funny, but yeah, Ozzy Osbourne. I guess before we get started, I will unfortunately bring up the fact that I was able to see Iron Maiden this last week. Unfortunately, you were not able to make it.
I did not go.
So yeah, it was awesome. You've seen them a bunch of times before. So
yeah, and I plan on going to see them when they come back and do the first 10 albums, which they announced they're doing on the next tour. So hopefully they're all healthy enough and they all continue. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll definitely try to make it to that one.
I'm worried about Nico a little bit. He's
me too.
He's struggling, and I feel bad. Like, you can tell.
Sounded good live though, right? Or
he sounded great. It looked like he was in pain though. I'm sure he is. I guess that's the thing is, he's really having a hard time. And from what me and Brian were researching, our buddy that went with us, I guess that kind of goes into what they're playing. I guess the certain songs, certain fills he just can't do as well anymore. And it's sad, but unfortunately he's going to probably leave soon, I would imagine. But everybody else, they're still doing great, man. They sound awesome. The sound is so good. Bruce, I mean, he doesn't sound the same as he once did, but he still sounds great. There's definitely a down tick, I guess, but still, he's still one of the best to do it. He's up there jumping around, and to me, he's a front man. He's not just the singer, which he's an incredible singer, but he's just he's jumping around, and man, it's like for 66 years old or whatever he is, 66, 67, whatever he is now,
waving the flag, doing all the costume changes.
Yeah,
he's fighting with that futuristic Ozzy and firing balls of sparks at him or whatever.
Yep. That was cool for sure.
That was,
and the Somewhere in Time stuff. Look, we ranked our albums, and that was high on both of our lists.
Yeah,
I think it was
an A for me. It was number.
It was an A for you, and it was top couple for me too. So
it's number one. They were doing 4 off of that one.
Yeah, I think 4 off of that, and then they did 5 off the new one, which which I think you like the new one a lot more
do.
than me. But
Yeah.
you know what? I got
I do, but those songs are like 8, 9, 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's the only problem. So
Yeah. So
but it also, gets you so you don't have to hear. If you've seen them a few times, you don't have to hear "Run to the Hills" again, and a
sure,
few of
sure.
those other ones that they just,
Yeah, they don't do Number
you
of the
know,
Beast
yeah,
anymore.
Number of the Beat.
Yeah, those
They're
type
just
of
not doing those because they're doing some of these other songs, which is good because to me that's
yeah,
you're getting a little deeper in their catalog, rather than just hearing the greatest hits all the
yeah. Somewhere in Time stuff was fantastic. That made it for me for sure. So
time. Nice.
definitely cool. So definitely check it out if it's in your area, and hopefully they come back next year. They're talking about. I mean, as far as be nice if they come to Cleveland, but
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. But even if it's Pittsburgh, I'll
yeah, Pittsburgh or
make
Columbus or
sure
something would be
trip
great.
out
So
there. Yep.
all right, well let's hop into Ozzy. What do you got for Ozzy?
Ozzy Osbourne, John Michael Osbourne. He's been called Ozzy since he was a little kid. Everybody knows who Ozzy is, so there's no need to get into too much background. We talked a lot about him in the Black Sabbath podcast too, so go back and listen to some of that if you want some more Ozzy background. But he basically left Black Sabbath in 1979 to go form his own band. So he apparently left during the recording of What Never Say Die and for a little bit and wanted to go do Blizzard of Oz. And they talked him into coming back, and then they put out in my opinion, a terrible album. And then he did leave. So,
Yep.
but everybody knows who Ozzy is. So we'll get right into Blizzard of Oz was the debut. It came out in September 1980 in the UK, March of 1981 in the US. 9 songs. Boy, Ozzy, guy can't really do anything wrong, can he? Like, I mean, he's in Black Sabbath and he's on a rocket ship, right? And then he comes back down to Earth for 5 minutes and he hats on another rocket ship and off he goes. Like, man, Blizzard of Oz, absolute classic album. Obviously, everybody knows this one. It's really, really, really good stuff. It's produced by Ozzy, Randy Rhoads, who we found in Quiet Riot. I think Dana Strum, I think of all people, suggested him to Ozzy way back when the day. Lee Kerslake, Bob Daisley, Lee Kerslake drummer and Bob Daisley on bass, and Don Airy played some keyboards also at this time. Mac Norman, I guess, produced it, but wasn't really credited. He did. It looks like it's widely regarded that he produced the first 3 albums for the Blizzard of Oz, which was the name of the band at first. It was supposed to be called Blizzard of Oz, but when the album came out, Ozzy's name, I guess, was bigger. It's supposed to be Blizzard of Oz, and it's supposed to say Ozzy Osbourne kind of smaller on the cover. And Ozzy's name was kind of big. I guess Randy Rhoads almost kind of left due to his displeasure of being like in a backing band for Ozzy. Like he felt like he was better than that, and he was. But Sharon Arden, Ozzy's soon-to-be manager and wife, she also didn't want any of the rest of the band to get any writing credits, saying that Ozzy did most of the work. Where pretty much everybody's in agreement that that's not the case, and that's
Right.
Randy was thinking about leaving already because he only stuck around, basically because he felt like he was doing a lot of the work and Ozzy wasn't doing much. And if he's going to be the backing band guy, then he's like, yeah, I could go write some stuff somewhere else. But he only stuck around because it was pretty much a big opportunity for him to be with a named guy. And he was a relatively unknown player, but he was still pretty unhappy. And I guess, Daisley backs that up too. So yeah, it's all out there, but we'll get more into Sharon later. So I had a little anger about her before the podcast, but I'll try to keep it in check. Oh man, but this is an instant classic. This was everything that the 1979 Black Sabbath was not, and it was fresh. It was new. It didn't sound weird. It didn't sound like guys that really couldn't figure out, what they wanted to do and couldn't agree on anything. But most of the album was apparently written by Randy and Daisley and Ozzy with a friend of Ozzy's on drums. Who was never considered to be included in the band, which is weird. And he was jamming with them a lot. What a kind of a kick in the nuts that is, like this guy. And maybe he just didn't want to. Maybe he had a family. He's like, I can't be going on tour. I don't know. His name is Barry Scrennage, though. He was never credited for any of that stuff. So And he helped kind of form these songs with them playing drums. They later recruited that Lee Kerslake. He was from Uriah Heep, so that's where he came from. He was a drummer there. The first song written was "Goodbye to Romance," which was actually Ozzy um, saying goodbye to Black Sabbath because he thought his career was over when he left there. So he didn't feel like he was even going to be in a band. But Don Arden kept him on as part of his stable of acts as a manager, which was smart because he felt like he could put something else together for Ozzy. This was Sharon's father, so he sent Sharon out to kind of give Ozzy whatever he wants and whatever help he needed to try to. Who knows what all that entailed, but to help make this album and to help him out, help him be comfortable and whatever. Um, Sharon, it's funny. Sharon says that recording Blizzard of Oz was one of the best times of her life, but she lived in LA at the time, and this album was recorded in the studio in England with Ozzy's still wife there with him. So, yeah, I don't know what
Oh boy.
kind of revisionist history there, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, I was there. It was the greatest time of my life. Okay. Well, you were, I don't know how many thousands of miles away, but anyhow, this is just a fantastic album all the way through. There's no skippers on here for me. My favorites are I Don't Know. I mean, right off the bat, I was like, I love this right away. And there's a lot of first songs on his albums that I kind of feel that way about. Not all of them, but a lot of them where I'm like, wow, like right away, just blows me away. They know how to start an album. They know which song to put right at the beginning there to hook you in. But yeah, I love that song, and obviously Crazy Train, Suicide Solution, Mr. Crowley. There's a lot of great songs on here. Got no skippers. This is A- for me. This is number 3 of Ozzy's solo catalog, which is going to consist of 12 albums. There was 13, but one's a covers, and we don't review covers because there's nothing new there. So, I mean, we can do a covers podcast at some time, if we want to, but there's no reason to review it as an artist where they didn't write any of it.
Right.
But the production isn't the best, but it's pretty good for 1980, and it's been remastered recently, I think, for the 40th year anniversary. So it maybe sounds a little better, but it doesn't sound that much different. I don't think there's much you can do with the source material way back 40 years ago. So it does sound a little bit better, though. I did notice, but this is a great debut, just sending Ozzy on another rocket ship, like I said. Crazy Uncle Oz just getting started again.
Yep.
What did you think of Blizzard of Oz, Heard?
So I'll give just a little bit of background. So once again, Ozzy, I did not obviously start from the beginning. I was not born yet when this came out. It was very close, but not quite. So when I discovered Ozzy was in the early 90s. The first time I had ever heard him, I was at like a family picnic, and they had a pavilion with a jukebox, and a couple of my cousins loved a 90s album we'll get to later on, and played 3 or 4 of the songs on the jukebox on repeat. And I was like, what is this? This is so cool. And anyway, it ended up being Ozzy, and that just kind of opened the door. I didn't at that point know.
Where was this at, this jukebox?
It was some company picnic in Akron. It was pavilion. There's like pool tables and stuff. There was a little jukebox in the middle of this little pavilion.
I used to go camping with a friend of mine down the street, and like they had a little jukebox by a little lake there too. I discovered all kind of music on there, so that kind of takes me back a little bit. That's funny.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, like I knew of Black Sabbath, and my dad had some records, and I never put that together. I didn't know what happened. Again, I'm not even a teenager really yet, and like I don't know who's in what band or whatever. So I went backwards to all this stuff. So basically, I didn't listen to Blizzard of Oz until way after the fact, probably at some time mid to late 90s, probably closer to 97-ish, because that's when I started going to Ozfests, and I started getting to know Ozzy and his back catalog. So I remember there was a greatest hits that came out, Ozman Cometh, I think that was 97. I had that album, and then I kind of went backwards. So So
Surely
Blizzard
you
of
had
Oz,
heard Crazy Train in there before
yeah,
then,
oh
though.
yeah,
I mean, a few
oh
times, I'm sure,
yeah,
or a few of these songs, but
yeah. As I went back,
yeah.
I mean, like every album, there were songs that I had heard before,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah. You're
didn't
like,
know who it
"Oh,
was.
yeah, okay, here it is."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just for my dad having on 98.5 or
Yep.
100.7 or whatever. So, but yeah, I absolutely loved this album when I first heard it. Um, it's an amazing album. You basically everything you said, I totally agree with. It's classic. It sounds phenomenal. It doesn't. I guess when you look at it on the whole of Ozzy's stuff, maybe it doesn't hold up as well as some of the other ones do, and that's why it dropped a few spots for me. But it's still classic. I still go back to it all the time. You mentioned the I don't know Crazy Train Suicide Solution. Mr. Crowley is one of the best guitar solos I've heard in my entire life. That Randy just goes insane at the end of that song, and it's just ear candy. It's
Yeah.
for somebody that loves the guitar solo and just melts with these melodies. Oh, there's nothing better than that. So
He's been able to find some great ones too, huh?
yeah,
Oh my
absolutely.
goodness.
Yeah, he's insane. And
Oh,
God, what a loss. I mean, that's the
yeah,
one
I
thing I'm
know.
sure all of us have
Very
said
sad.
1 million times
Yep.
is a
What
death.
more could we have gotten from Randy Rhoads,
Yes, yes. What would the
Man.
next album and the next album and the next album have sounded like? Because
Yep.
it's sad, and when a death's so preventable and all that, it's
And
really
such a
really sad.
weird, unlucky situation too,
Yeah.
like, well, we'll talk about that in a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. We'll get to it. See, the end of the last couple songs on this are, it kind of loses me a little bit. No Bone Movies is not my favorite. I don't think there's any skippers. I agree with you. I let it play,
Mm-hmm.
but just for how strong the beginning of this album is towards the back of it, it loses a little bit for me. So I have it as a B plus, a little bit down from where you have it, but I have it ranked 4th overall. So pretty close to where you have it. It's classic. It's amazing. It's unfortunately, if I had to compare it to Heaven and Hell, which unfortunately most people do, I'm taking Heaven and
Yeah.
Hell.
Right. Right.
But
It's right there though.
it
It's
is.
not far
It
behind
is.
it. This is really good stuff.
You're absolutely right. But
Crazy how those two bands could separate after putting out like 2 albums basically for me of what are you doing
yeah, yes,
to putting out just these
yeah.
2 ridiculously iconic albums with different people. Like,
Yeah,
oh man.
it just shows they were
Yeah.
done with each other at the
Yes,
time.
yes,
And
absolutely. The talent, the stuff was still there, right? Like
yes, of
it
course.
just they couldn't get it out. Well, they had to
Right.
separate and then they got it out,
Yep.
so
Yeah, so
unbelievable.
I had a B plus in number 4 overall. So
Alrighty.
yeah.
Diary of a Madman, we move on to. This is October 1981, so 13 months later, 9 songs on here. This is produced by Max Norman and the band. Apparently, Max Norman's name is actually on this one. This is the last album with Lee Kerslake and Randy Rhoads. We'll talk about Randy in a minute. This for me is it's a top heavy album. I guess I just noticed I put in my notes that this is the last album with Randy. I put it in here twice. So if that tells you how important that was, I didn't even realize I put it in here 2 times. But it's is there 8 songs on here?
Yeah, there's only 8.
8 songs.
They did
Yeah,
a
I don't know why.
reissue
I guess
with
I
a
must have
live.
fat fingered or something.
I don't know. They did it on the
Yeah.
re-release, which made it 9.
Yeah. But once again, oh, the first 4 songs on here, Over the Mountain, like just right off the bat, it is such a great song. Like it just tears right into it for me. And I'm like, man, it's like it never kind of left the Blizzard of Oz, it flowed right into this one. And then Flying High Again, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll, all right in a row, Again, I didn't really like Tonight all that much. Like there's a few other songs like when Ozzy tries to do certain things, I don't think it really works. I mean, it does once in a while, but for the most part, it doesn't really work. So, and that was one for me that I didn't really care for. But this is a B plus for me. This is number 4. I have this right behind Blizzard. It's just not quite as good, but it's still really great stuff. And unfortunately, I lost Randy not long after this, was in '82. In a plane crash where I guess he was not fond of flying at all, and they talked him into getting on this little plane that there's a great documentary on Netflix too. I'll have to look it up while you're talking, and so I can give it to people. But it's fantastic. It's not real long. It's just one movie. It's not like 27 parts or anything, but it's really good, and really it tells you a lot about what happened. But he didn't want to get on the plane, but I guess this guy, I don't know if he's a stagehand or something, but he knew how to fly. And they were staying on this farm. I think they were Louisiana or Texas, somewhere in the South, but they were on this like farm, and they had this prop plane, and they talked him into going on there to take pictures of the farm and of the area for his girlfriend or his wife at the time, which he was really into. He was taking a lot of pictures. He had a camera with him, and they talked him into doing it just for that. And then I guess the guy kept buzzing the bus that Ozzy was still sleeping in like 3 different times. And one time he got too close and the wing clipped something, and just kind of the plane went down into a barn or a building and just kind of burst into flames. Like, yeah, they all died immediately, which it was just, it's just screwing around. And, he didn't even really want to get in the thing, so it's just a crazy bunch of events that kind of lined up, kind of like Richie Valens, like that whole
Yeah.
story about he was scared to death to fly, but it was icy and cold, and they had to wait for the bus, and Big Bopper and Buddy Holly are like, hey, you can get on the plane with us, and then that was the end of them, like it's just a weird string of events that led to it. But it's sad, like you said. Like, what would the next like 2 albums have sounded like? Because these 2 albums are really good, so
Yep.
it's pretty sad.
Yep.
But I have this as number 4. It's B plus. I have this up there out of the 12. So, what'd you think of Diary of a Madman?
So Diary of a Madman for me, I actually like a little better than Blizzard of Oz, and
Okay.
I didn't always.
I can totally see that.
Yeah, I didn't always feel that way, but I think over time they've kind of went in a little bit different
It's
directions.
a little more mature, I guess, in a way.
It's a little quote unquote proggier.
Okay.
I know I throw that around a lot as proggy, but I feel like there's more orchestration, and especially in the title track, Diary of a Madman, it's real orchestral, and I love it. Like it's probably my favorite Ozzy song, Diary of a Madman. You mentioned that the first side of the record. I actually have the vinyl of this one. I play it all the time still. That side 1 is awesome. Over the Mountain, Flying High Again, Can't Kill Rock and Roll Believer, I think are just stellar. I remember when I saw Ozzy the first time, I think you were there too, at the Rubber Bowl for Ozfest 98.
I was at that one. Yes.
They opened with Believer. It was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so cool. I actually like the second side. I that's actually probably the difference for me. I like SATO and Little Dolls and Tonight a little bit better than I like those last three on Blizzard. So to me, that makes a difference, but very, very close, very, very classic. This is number 2 for me. I love Diary of a Madman. I come back to it all the time. It just barely misses out on the top spot for me. I have it as an A minus. I just think it's classic. Again, to me, Randy was on such a trajectory of, these songs, and I wanted to know what these other albums would have sounded like, even though they ended up being amazing. And we'll talk about the guitarists he get later on, and he just hit jackpot after jackpot with these guitar players. But Randy, man, I just still wish that we could have seen what he was going to do. And, it's really, really sad. But yeah, so I have Diary of a Madman, number 2, and an A minus.
All right. We move on to Bark of the Moon, November 18th, 1983. So we're 2 years later now. It's Max Norman again, and Bob Daisley and Ozzy. You notice Randy Rhoads' name is missing, and this is where Jakey Lee entered Ozzy's world and played guitar on only 2 albums, sadly. But that's not for plane crash reasons or because he died. That's because of one person in particular,
right?
That we'll get to again later, who's not in the band. But yeah, so that's great. Anyway, 8 songs on here. Tommy Aldridge on drums. This is the only album he was on with Ozzy. Aldridge left after recording and was replaced by Carmine Apathy, but Aldridge returned after Apathy was removed by the Osbournes. Ozzy said it was for health reasons. He was making me sick. That was his quote. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yep.
It's funny, but yeah, apparently he didn't get along with them, which I just thought that quote was hilarious. So this is a move towards kind of a more synth and pop rock sound. Like I didn't hear it at first. Like first few songs like sound pretty much like the other stuff, but it definitely pops up more later where I can definitely hear more of that in there. Second time in a couple years now that Ozzy faced some controversy here, like Suicide Solution was reported to influence a fan to kill himself, and then now a Canadian man murdered a woman and her 2 kids after allegedly listening to Bark at the Moon. So people labeled his music as satanic, even though he doesn't feel like it is. But he faced the same thing in Black Sabbath, right? So I mean, it's not really anything new to him. All song credits go to Ozzy. But Jake says he contributed a significant amount, but was cheated out of credits by Ozzy's new wife and manager, Sharon. Won't be the last time she's cheated people either, but he said he was presented with a contract after finishing all of his parts for the album that he would get no rights to publishing. And he felt like he had no rights, or he had no choice but to sign it because he'd already recorded this album. And he had no legal representation. And he says that Sharon said she would fire him and have another guitarist re-record his parts. So after he was completely done of all this recording, she gives him this contract, and he basically has to sign away his rights, his publishing rights. So, and she told him that he couldn't mention any of it publicly. So
Sure.
that's of course, So I mean, that tells you this right there. And Bob Daisley confirms it all and said that he got the same treatment. So.
Well, Bob Daisley, from what I hear now, he's basically written every lyric that has ever been said, and not every. I'm sure he is exaggerating, but I've heard that he has written probably 75-80% of lyrics for the first however many albums he was on. So they obviously did a lot for Ozzy, and Ozzy deserves a lot of credit. I'm not taking anything away from him. His lyrics are I mean, his voice and the way he does things is, his passages. But.
Pretty crazy, too, for a guy who got as popular as he did, who isn't really a great singer.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
so
more
unique.
Stage presence, and right, it's a unique sound, but he's not really any kind of classically trained great singer. He's not Jeff Tate, he's not Bruce Dickinson. No. He's nowhere close to Ronnie James Dio. He's nowhere close to these guys as far as a singer goes. But
he's a figurehead.
He's a figure, but the music is good and his voice fits it. Like it just fits. It's so weird. But it just shows you that, if you get in the right situation, you don't have to be a great singer, You just I don't know, it's crazy. Anyway, my favorites are Bark at the Moon on this one, the title track again, the first song. It's just it's ridiculous. It just hooks you right in. Rock and Roll Rebel and Center of Eternity. I did not like Now You See It, and I didn't like So Tired. This is a C+ for me. This is just kind of mid-tier because there's only one really great song on here. Like I mentioned a couple other favorites. That's just because I like those more than the other songs, but I didn't really love a lot of songs in here. I just love Bark at the Moon, really. I love that song, but that's really about it. The rest is listenable and in some cases good. It sounds like Ozzy and everything. It's not like anything really changed. It's just not as good as the first two for me. So I have this as a C+. I have a lot in kind of the mid-range for Ozzy. So this I have as 7. But again, we're talking 12 albums, so it's kind of still in the middle. But what did you think of Bark at the Moon?
Yeah, I'm with you. This isn't one of my favorites. I just don't go back to it. The songs aren't very memorable. It doesn't sound bad. I agree with you.
You said it better than I did.
Yeah,
it's just not very memorable. You're
it's just not.
Except Bark at the Moon. I get that one stuck in my head for days.
That's it. Yeah, no, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the strong one for sure. I agree. Rock and Roll Rebel is good. I actually like Waiting for Darkness, the closer.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's a pretty good song. Mm-hmm. But kind of in between, this is the first album. Going back and listening to all these, I just got kind of bored. I was like, I'm never gonna remember any of these songs other than the title track, and just didn't quite do it for me. For me, this is number 7 in a C+.
It's exactly the same.
Just right in the middle there, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Like there's a lot of stuff that he's done that sticks with me more. Maybe it's the time that I got into them and all that. That always plays a part into it. But yeah,
Of
this
course.
just this didn't really do it for me. So yeah, number 7 and a C+ for me at Bark at the Moon.
All right. And it says in that one too, it said that all lyrics and everything was written by Ozzy except for Where Noted, which was only the first song. And that's Bark at the Moon, which is the best song, and that's credited to him and Bob Daisley. So that's kind
Yep.
of funny. But the only one really good song. So maybe Sharon was onto something there, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe, I guess.
Yeah. Funny thing is, we move along to The Ultimate Sin, January 24th, 1986. So we're only a little more than 2 years out from Bark at the Moon. This is produced by Ron Nevison. This is the first Randy Castillo on drums album. This is my favorite Ozzy solo album. Ozzy has stated he hates it. This was right after Ozzy got out of the Betty Ford Clinic, which was 1985. And this time, Jakey Lee made sure before he did anything that he had a contract written. Ozzy got out of the Betty Ford Clinic and for substance abuse, just in general, I guess could have been anything with him. Could have been snorting ants or taking dumps in people's boots in a hallway at the hotels. I mean, who knows what,
Yep.
But that guy, he's a nut. Good old Uncle Oz. But he was met with a large quantity of music written by Jakey Lee. I almost called him Geddy Lee. Written by Jakey Lee. But he made sure he had a contract for this one. Ozzy said that he hates this album. I love it. I can't get enough of this album. The music, the artwork behind Heard there, excellent. It's fantastic. It sounds great even today. They brought in Greg Chasin on bass, but he was let go really before they really got to recording the album. Then Phil Susan came into the band, and after the tours were done for this album, Jakey Lee was fired unexpectedly by Sharon. Shocker. We still don't know why. Susan left also, and Daisley got brought back in. Daisley is I think he leaves and comes back. I don't know how many times in this band, so it's hard to even keep track of. I've just always loved Jakey Lee's guitar tone and playing style. And again, he was in a band called Badlands after he got let go from this band in the later 80s, and they put out 2 incredible albums too. Like Jakey Lee, between The Ultimate Sin and those 2 albums, like that's a run of guitar playing that I can't really put a lot of people up against. Like there's just ridiculously great stuff in there. Now he started on Bark at the Moon, and you can hear some of that stuff in there, but like this was stuff he wrote, right? This was stuff that he put together, and Daisley came and wrote all the lyrics. So Ozzy didn't really do anything on this album except come in and sing it. And this is just great songwriting, great craftsmanship. There's so many hooks here. I mean, The Ultimate Sin starts right away. Another great first song on an album. I love that song. I love Secret Loser, Never Know Why. Lightning Strikes is such an underrated Ozzy song. I wish they'd play that every show. It's such a great song. Killer of Giants is fantastic. That was the original album title too, by the way. Shot in the Dark is one of, if not my favorite Ozzy song. I just love that song. Like this whole album, there's just basically hit after hit on this one. They didn't release much of it, and Ozzy, maybe because he was just less involved in this one than some of the other ones, is why he hated it. But man, this was so good. This is when they toured with Metallica too, where everybody says that Metallica kind of blew Ozzy off the stage. It was the Ultimate Sin tour where Metallica was out for Master of Puppets, and this is where Metallica's really started to pick up steam with their live show. But I'm telling you, if I got to go to that show, it was here in April of 1986. I was only 14. I didn't see Van Halen until July of that year, so I just couldn't go to this show. I wish I could have, because I would have been just as excited to see Ozzy as I would have been Metallica at that point, because I love this album. I loved it right away. I had the vinyl. It got lost and ruined with all the other ones that I had, but I listen to this all the time. I know every song. Like Jakey Lee just is so good. Like I said, his tone, his playing style, I can't get enough of. I got no skippers on this one. This is an A rating for me. This would be an A plus. Now I know I've been a little stingier by giving out A pluses. This one is really, really close for me. If the song Never and Fool Like You were slightly better. Now I like both of those songs. I just don't love them. But I love every other song on here. It's still really good. The whole thing is just great. So this is an A. This is top tier. Is number one for me. I love this album, and it's just a hair short of A plus. What did you think of the Ultimate Sin?
Well, I'm right with you, partner.
All right,
This is an incredible album.
incredible album.
This one stands the test of time for me. I love the sound of it. It kind of gets bagged on a lot for the production.
I don't know why. I've heard that too, and I don't know why.
I will say, I think the drums sound like shit. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think they sound pretty bad. And again, this is my favorite Ozzy album, my favorite Ozzy solo album. So I'm saying through that, I don't think the drums sound good. Still is an A album for me. The songs are just so good. You could just hear the epicness of them. Like you feel like it just feels so epic. Like it's like an orchestra, but like the rock feeling of it. It's just so cool. I love all the songs on it. This is the one I go back to. One of the most, probably top 3 that I go back to, and I let it play. To me, it's all killer, no filler. I love every song. I know every word to every song. I know every guitar part to every song. I told you I went backwards. This is just the one that was like, it sounded different. It sounded better. It just stands above the rest, which to me makes it an easy number 1 and an A. Again, for me, my reason for not having an A plus is the drums. And it's just in my ear. Something doesn't sound right. I don't know what it is. But
I don't pick up on that at all. I think it sounds great.
Rest,
I mean, the guitar is really forward in the mix.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, you can really hear what Jakey Lee's doing.
Sure.
Way more so than on Bark at the Moon.
Yep.
So thank
Totally
Rod
agree.
Nevison for that. So, but
yeah,
I still feel like the drums are present enough. I don't feel like they're.
Well, I think they're present.
Buried,
I guess I just don't like the sound of them. I guess is more what it is. It isn't necessarily that I can't hear them, or it's just, so to me, it's
muffled, or you just don't like the sound.
Yeah, just the sound of it. I don't know if it doesn't fit with what everything else is in my ear. I don't know. But again, I'm nitpicking. This is a classic, amazing album, and it's A, and it's number 1. I love The Ultimate Sin is a great song. You mentioned Shot in the Dark. It's incredible. My favorite song on the album is Killer of Giants. Love that song so much. I remember one night I was watching TV, and some show or movie, you may know the name of the movie. I can't think of it. Secret Loser comes on. It's some guy driving in a car, or some 80s movie.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Whatever song, but anyway, I was laughing.
Yeah.
My ass off, but,
I know what you're talking about too. I can't think of it.
Can't remember some 80s movie. But anyway, Secret Loser is awesome too. No skippers. I mean, like I said, this is all killer. No filler on this at all. I feel like this is probably the only album where there's absolutely nothing on it that I would skip it, or not skip. I would say that I get bored of, that I'm like, that's not my favorite. I love all 9 songs on this. So easy A for me, easy number 1. I'm glad we agree. This is a great album. Very good, man.
Yeah, it is. Great video too, by the way, for Shot in the Dark. Great cheesy 80s video for, like, they're getting in the convertible and they're going out in LA to the live Ozzy show, and there's some live performance stuff in there that's just shot really well, and it just looks good, and like it's a really slick produced, live video. So it's one of my favorite videos of that time. But I love the song too, so I mean that helps. On we go to No Rest for the Wicked after we lose Jakey Lee due to Sharon again. Oh boy. 1988, October 1988, 9 songs. Roy Thomas Baker, was that the Queen guy? Does he produce the Queen albums, Roy Thomas Baker?
I
think
don't
so.
know.
Anyway, Roy Thomas Baker and Keith Olsen produced this one. This is the first album with Zakk Wylde. This return of Bob Daisley on bass again. He's back after Want to Help Him missing, which he wrote a lot of the lyrics for, but I guess he didn't play on any of it because he left. But Devil's Daughter, if you remember from the Black Sabbath podcast, they had a song called Devil's Daughter that they changed because Ozzy was writing one also, and that was this album. Not one of my favorite songs. Um, I don't have a whole lot of tidbits on this one. He did the touring for the Ultimate Sin. They fired Jakey Lee, and they basically started recording another album. I guess I don't think he even liked the Ultimate Sin album even back then, so it didn't take long. It was 2 years, but anyway, I like Miracle Man. Crazy Babies is good. Breaking All the Rules. That's about it though. Skippers, Devil's Daughter, I didn't care for. Tattoo Dancer, and Hero. They just sound like filler songs. They have a filler song feel to me. Like they just don't. Again, there's nothing memorable about these 3 songs. They're just kind of in there. It's like I don't know. Maybe they only had 6, and these are the next 3 best ones. I don't know, but I have this as a C. I have this number 8. Mid tier. It's a solid album, I guess, but the greats, they aren't as great as the past, and it kind of slogs a bit with the filler stuff, but it's just not terrible. What did you think of No Rest for the Wicked?
Yeah, you're reading my sheet.
I read your sheet again.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yeah, I don't care for this one. This is my least favorite, I would say, classic Ozzy album. It's just, to me, even less memorable than Bark at the Moon. Crazy Babies drives me kind of crazy itself. I think Miracle Man is phenomenal, but after that, not a whole lot. Demon Alcohol is okay. Fire in the Sky as a ballad is okay. It's just this album doesn't really do a lot for me. And this doesn't really sound like Zakk Wylde to me. And I know he's just a kid. He's just a kid, but there's not many of the squeals that he does. And some people I know that drives them a little nuts, but I love Zack's squeals. That's like his signature to me. It
is, but he does overdo it sometimes.
He does. But it's like not.
But it also wouldn't be him without them.
Sure,
it doesn't,
absolutely.
like you said, it could have been some other guitar player because you don't. Without that,
This is just a very straightforward sound for Zakk. It's obviously he's just a kid and he's going to get better. To me, there's just nothing memorable about this album. I have it number 8 as well, and I also have it as a C. Fit in right behind Bark at the Moon was a perfect spot for it. I don't ever come back to this one. I don't ever come back to Bark at the Moon. It's just not memorable. I just have no need to go back to it ever. So I'm with you. We both have the 2 Bobs at number 8 and a C for No Rest for the Wicked.
All right. And then upwards we go with No More Tears, September 17th, 1991. So whole different landscape in music at this point. But this album stands on its own. Like, this isn't a certain type of music. This is just an ass kicker of an album.
Yeah.
This is really, really good stuff. This is Dwayne Barron and John Purdell produced this one. Roy Thomas Baker was the Queen guy, by the way. He did their first 5 albums, I think, or something. So.
Okay.
But Zakk Wylde actually helped write on this one. I mean, I guess he got credits on No Rest for the Wicked, at least it says on Wikipedia, but from a lot of the stuff I read, like you said, he was still young and he didn't contribute as much. So maybe he got writing credits. Maybe it was for smaller parts where this kind of feels and sounds more like his signature sound, So Lemmy from Motorhead wrote lyrics to 4 songs on this album and 2 more songs that didn't make this album.
Yep.
Mike Inez wrote the iconic bass intro for No More Tears. He left this band to join Alice in Chains after Ozzy toured with Alice in Chains for this album. Mike Inez left and became a permanent member of Alice in Chains after their first album, after Facelift, before Dirt. And he's still, I believe, in
he is. Yep.
My favorites on here are No More Tears. It's a classic song. I don't ever turn it off. And I know people get sick of it and they don't ever want to hear it. He plays it every show, no matter what. But I just never get sick of it. I can't even turn it off when it's on the radio. And my wife will say, she said it multiple times. She's like, man, this song's really long.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it is. Because it just kind of goes away and does this thing in the middle and then kind of comes back at the end, and there's a lot of Zakk Wylde doing Zakk Wylde things in there, which is great. So it's a fantastic song, but it is pretty long. But I can't bring myself to turn it off. So I love Hellraiser. Every time I hear that, they've been playing that more on Sirius lately. I don't know why, but like on Hair Nation or whatever, they've been playing it, and I get stuck in my head every time. I'm like, man, I really love this song. So that's one that Lemmy. I think he's in the video for it too. Lemmy wrote lyrics for that one.
He did his own version of it too, which is really good.
Okay. And then
Motorhead.
I liked Time After Time, and I like Road to Nowhere a lot too. I mean, Mama, I'm Coming Home is good. I mean, it's not one of my favorites on here, but it's good. There's nothing on here that's bad. Like Zombie Stomp's good. Aston Villa Highway, I guess is what it's called. I guess Chris Jericho asked Ozzy one time what AVH stood for, and he said Austin Villa Highway, I guess, which was Aston Villa Highway, which was their favorite, the Black Sabbath guys' favorite British Premier League soccer team, Aston Villa, the Villains. So I guess that's what that song title meant. I didn't know that until I just was doing this research. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But I got no skippers on this one. This is A- for me. I just like this just a little bit less than Ultimate Sin. This is an excellent album, though. Upper tier, number 2. What'd you think of No More Tears? Is this where you got into Ozzy?
This is where I got into Ozzy.
This is the jukebox songs. What songs were they?
This is Bob's gateway, Ozzy. It was the hits. It was No More Tears, Mama, I'm Coming Home, and Road to Nowhere were the 3 that my cousins just kept playing over and over on repeat. I'm like, what the hell is this? This is so cool. I mean, I'm like 13 years old, 14 years old, whatever. I mean, I'm so young. But I'm like, man, it's ear candy, and it still is today. I'm with you. This is phenomenal. I love it. It's kind of where I guess Ozzy probably went a little more, what do they call, more radio friendly, more open for everybody to hear. But I love the heck out of it. These are just great songs.
I think what helped though is he wrote a couple ballads here that actually worked.
Yes,
like he tried to write some other. There's some other ballads on these other albums, but they're just kind of boring. Like they don't do anything for you. But this one is 2.
Yep.
And that really brings in a wider audience, because there's those 2 ballads. But I feel like it's really heavy too. It's heavier than what he was doing on the Ultimate Sin and on No Rest for the Wicked. It's heavier than that in some ways too.
Mm-hmm.
So
and definitely Zach found himself on this album. Like, this is the album where Zach became Zach. It's just these epic guitar solos. I love Mr. Tinker Train. I think I Don't Want to Change the World is one of the best live songs he does. You mentioned Mama, I'm Coming Home. A lot of people don't like that song. I think that guitar solo is epic and awesome.
Another Lemmy lyric song in Mama, I'm Coming Home, which that to me floored me. I knew he wrote some stuff on here, but I didn't think that was one of them. I was shocked to see that. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all good songs. I could name a lot of them. They're all so good. I heard a lot of these songs live when I've actually only seen Ozzy twice in my life, and I got to hear a lot of these songs both times. So yeah, this is awesome. Just a little lower than where you had it. I already have my first 2 announced, so this squeezes right behind that at 3. This is a B+. Another album I come back to all the time. I just put it on and let it play. It's the perfect, it's 11 songs. And to me, that's about top level where you want to be.
Yeah.
But they're all great. They're all great songs. There's no filler on this one either. So, this is a B+. And number 3, No More Tears, kicks ass. I love it.
Yeah, this is I got to see this tour, the No More Tours tour, because I guess he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis or something, but it erroneously. And he thought he was going to have to retire. And I guess he kind of was just sick of the whole thing anyway. But yeah, after he toured, he decided he wanted to retire. But this was called the No More Tours tour. So I got suckered into, I'm like, I better go see him because he's never going to come back again. And I went, and then he came back a few years later. And then he played every year on Ozfest for God knows how long. So
Right.
I'm like, all right. So there was definitely no retiring. But it was a great tour, though. So it was a good one here. And it was here in Cleveland. So, but so they toured a lot for this one. And then came Osmosis, October 24th, 1995. There's 10 songs on here. Michael Beinhorn produced. It was supposed to be Michael Wagner, but Epic Records wanted to change in production style and replace Wagner. Wagner did the mixing on the No More Tears album. And Ozzy, I guess, hated working with this Beinhorn guy, probably because he was forced on him by the label. And he said he didn't care at this point if he ever made another album again after the experience, because he just didn't like it. He said it was like he's like the guy was playing mind games with him. Like they would record all day, and then he would be in the middle of a song. He'd be like, "Just stop." He's like, "Your voice doesn't sound right. Go home and get some rest." And then he goes, "I'd come back the next day, and he'd tell me my voice sounded different." So he's like, I didn't know what the guy wanted from me, so he didn't like the whole mind games. I guess he wasn't used to that. So a guy trying to get more out of him, probably, or whatever. But I don't know. It kind of shows, because this album isn't very good for me. So this is the only album with Geezer Butler, who was in Black Sabbath on bass. Dean Castronovo, who is in Journey now and has been in Journey for a while. He's fantastic, but he was on drums on this one. This was supposed to feature, I did not know this until I did the research, which is kind of shocking to me because I'm a big fan of Steve Vai too. I didn't know that he was supposed to play guitars on this album. And I guess him and Steve Vai and Ozzy kind of had a falling out before they recorded. I guess they were rehearsing songs for this. I kind of wonder what that would have sounded like, you know?
Right. Yep.
But Zach Wilde came back and played on guitar, and Zach Wilde still maintains that Steve Vai and Ozzy are still friends, but yeah, I guess they had a falling out, and that's why he wasn't on this album. So I was like, wow, I never knew that. My favorites are I Just Want You, Thunder Underground. I thought was really good. Tomorrow, there's some great guitar work in there. Skippers, I didn't like Ghosts Behind My Eyes. See You on the Other Side. My Little Man. My Little Man was the one song that I think Steve Vai had a hand in writing that did make this album, I believe. And I don't know, I didn't really care for it. So maybe if that's an indication of what the rest of the album would have sounded like, maybe I wouldn't have liked it as much as I don't really care for this one. I have this one as a C minus, mid tier. This was 12 for me. This is the bottom fell off for Ozzy on this one. Yeah, this album is just okay for me. There's nothing stands out here. A lot of it feels like filler. It's just kind of boring. I feel like it hurts it a little bit that this was next right after such a great album, No More Tears, because it's just a stark difference. Like there's just no memorable stuff on here that was all memorable on No More Tears, all of it, you know. So it's not even close to that one. So it's just such a difference, you know. So maybe it could go a couple spots up, but the bonus track, whole World's Falling Down, is better to me than most of the actual album. So
okay,
that's on Spotify as like it would be the 11th song.
Yeah, it was a reissued bonus track. That one and Amy.
Yeah, Amy's not bad. I mean, there's parts of it. Some of it kind of bores me. I mean, some of it's pretty good, but I actually like the World's Falling Down. That's a good song. But anyway, I have it as a C minus, as number 12. And again, it's only a C minus. I didn't even rate any Ozzy stuff as a D, so I don't really dislike it that much. It's not like I hate it, but something's got to be 12th, and I just wasn't feeling this one. Even re-listening to it now, I know it let me down a lot when it came out because of No More Tears. And I was like, oh boy, I couldn't wait for Osmosis, and I was like, it's just nothing there. So, what did you think of Osmosis, Heard?
Definitely liked it way more than you did.
All right. Figured it was going to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, here we are.
Why is it always in the mid 90s? Isn't that Iron Maiden, with Blaze? I mean, it's like the ones we're arguing about.
Yeah, you just have to remember what was happening in the 90s. I was young, and, whatever came out, like, again, No More Tears was the first time I had heard Ozzy. So, Osmosis coming out, I'm excited. Like, I jammed this record all the time in my car when I was learning to drive. I had the CD, was definitely in my rotation. I had it in the 8-disc changer or whatever, 6-disc, whatever it was in the back of my car. And I love it. It's obviously not as good as the classic albums, but it's right in the middle for me. I go back to this still. I think Perry Mason is one of those openers that you talk about. I love it. I think it's a great song.
I don't have it as one that I would skip, but it's just not, I don't know. It's not up to the standards of the other ones. I do agree, though. It's a good song for this album to start off with. It just doesn't measure up to the iconic ones that he's had on some of the past albums.
So love Perry Mason. The guitar solo is another one
Yes,
of the epic ones.
that is fantastic.
Very good. I like a lot of these songs. I don't love a lot of these songs, but I like them. I sing along to all of them. Just Want You is good. I love Ghost Behind My Eyes. I know you don't like that one. I like Thunder Underground. See You on the Other Side is good. Another Lemmy song that he helped write with the band.
A lot of songwriting credits on this one too. This is kind of the beginning of this for him.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of outside Mark Hudson, Steve Dudas, Jim Valance. Like there's a lot of guys that just start showing up and
Yep.
helping write songs. The producers, Dwayne Barron is John Purdell's got writing credits on a couple songs.
Yeah.
Like
it gets worse and worse every album.
it does. It does. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but this is
No.
kind of the beginning of that.
Right. But I agree the end of the album is pretty unmemorable for me. The closer, Old LA Tonight, is pretty good for me. But the like Tomorrow, Denial, My Little Man, My Jekyll Doesn't Hide, not great stuff.
No.
I feel like that was kind of for me where they put the filler in. For me, this album fits in at number 6. So I like it a little bit better than Bark at the Moon and No Rest for the Wicked.
Wow.
I fully agree. I'm fully admitting it's probably because that when it came out, I was 15, 16 years old, learning how to drive. I played the shit out of this album, and to me, that
You just came off of No More Tears, which you really loved and got you into Ozzy, so that makes sense.
So it just, I think the time of it for me, it's just one of those things. When you're that age, you buy what you buy, and you have what you have. You don't have Spotify. You don't have like, well, I'm going to listen to something else. I mean,
you're right.
I just spent $15 on Osmosis. I'm going to listen to Osmosis every day. And,
not having much of a job, it's not like you can afford to buy 3-4 CDs a month. You're talking $60, $70. You can't afford that. So you're buying one and wearing it out. You got to really pick and choose what you're buying. You can't just afford to buy everything,
Yeah. You just,
so it makes total sense.
Yeah. So that's
where
I'm at.
Forced to listen to it in that way, almost like a prisoner.
Yeah. And there's a whole lot of albums, I'm sure, that I bought over the years that I tried to square peg in a round hole it, and it didn't work. But this one, again, it had enough redeeming. It had Zach on guitar. It still's got Ozzy as the vocals. You mentioned he didn't like working with a producer. The story I heard too about that is, and you can hear it, his singing on this is way higher than it normally is. So I guess the producer kept trying to get him to sing higher and higher and higher. Like if you listen back to some of these songs,
maybe that's what he was referring to with the mind games.
Yeah.
Thing, like maybe he was trying to do what the guy wanted and he just couldn't do it. He's like, well, I'll just come back tomorrow then.
Yeah. Just listen to some of the vocal parts of like Ghost Behind My Eyes. I know you don't like that song. You probably don't want to go back to it, but the chorus is really high, like way higher than anything he's ever done before. So yeah, again, it's not the greatest album, but again, it's mid-tier for me. It's right in the middle. I go back to it still once in a while. It's a C+ for me, and I have it at number 6, Osmosis.
All right. Now we move ahead. Let's see, 5 years, 6 years?
6.
Down to Earth. 6 years later, October 16, 2021. 11 songs. Tim Palmer produced. Ozzy did say, though, about this producer that the album wouldn't have gotten made without him, and that he had incredible patience. He compared him to Randy Rhoads, who he felt like Randy Rhoads had a credible amount of patience with him, too, like when he was really probably kind of getting out of control, back then, and he had a lot of patience to work with Ozzy, and he had the same quality in Tim Palmer. He said he wanted to do the Grateful Dead thing and just keep touring, but Ozfest was killing it out there. He just wanted to keep doing that, but the label wanted a new Ozzy album. So here we go. The song Hash Pipe by Weezer was almost on this album. There's another crazy fact that I had no idea.
I didn't know that either.
That was almost on this album. I guess he was searching for writing partners because, again, there's a ton of writing partners on here. And I guess maybe he liked the way Osmosis went because he wasn't responsible for writing as much stuff. So he's looking for writing partners. And he went to Rivers Cuomo, who's the singer for Weezer. And this song was discussed for Ozzy to use, but Ozzy didn't choose it. So it's so weird that song. I can't imagine. I want to hear what Ozzy would sound like singing Hash Pipe. It's just I would love to hear that. I
Yeah,
wish there was a demo of it somewhere. That would be so fun.
me too.
But Zach Wilde came back to record this album, replacing Joe Holmes, who is the guy that Ozzy got to tour with them for a while. But then he left again. Zach Wilde did until 2007, but he did play on this album. This is also Robert Trujillo on bass, who we just did Metallica a few weeks ago. This is the only album he was on with Ozzy. He recorded this album with Ozzy and then left to join Metallica for Saint Anger, which we all know where that went. But Trujillo's still with him, and he's great in Metallica. So this is Mike Borden on drums here too from Faith No More. My favorites on here are Facing Hell, Alive, and Can You Hear Them? I like those a lot. Skippers are Dreamer. It kind of feels like a Christmas song at the beginning. I don't know what's kind of going on there. And and Running Out of Time, I didn't like either. Again, these are slower songs where I feel like Ozzy's trying to put forth some ballads that just kind of aren't working, So he does a lot of that. There are a few that worked. Most notably, probably with Lita Ford and Close Your Eyes Forever. I mean, that's a fantastic song. But again, that's with somebody else. But yeah, with Mama I'm Coming Home and Road to Nowhere, like he's definitely written some good ballads too. But yeah, there's a lot of swings and misses out here also. Rating for me on this one's a C minus. I had this one mid tier, I guess, but it's 11 out of 12, so I don't know how that'd be mid tier, but still in the mid range, I guess. It's still a C. It's very similar to Osmosis for me, where a lot of it kind of feels like filler. It's not terrible, but nothing really stands out. It's kind of, there's a lot of blah on here is what I wrote in my notes. Where I was kind of getting in this slog here the next few albums where I was like, man, this is where it started to get hard for me.
Yeah.
So I started to get bored with some of the stuff that just wasn't standing out. So a little foreshadowing there of what's to come. But what did you think of Down to Earth?
Yeah. See, so this one is an example of one that it came out during my teenage years, like late teenager. I was probably 19 to 20 when this came out. And this one just didn't hardly hit with me at all. Now, I will say that I do like it better than some of the stuff to come, which I think we might disagree on just how much we like it or don't like it. But this one is like the highest tier of the ones I don't like. It has a few.
The best of the worst, you might say.
Yeah, the best of the worst. I
funny.
do like some songs on here. That Gets Me Through is good. Facing Hell is okay. Junkie's pretty good. But there's a lot of stuff on here that it's just like his other albums we talked about. It's either his stuff is memorable or it's not. And I think with Ozzy, that's just the bottom line. Either if it's something I'm going to either remember the riff in my head all day or I'm going to sing, the chorus all the time, then I go back to it. He's got lots of songs like that. Not a lot on this album where I'm going back to it or I'm remembering the riff. Like I remember the riff of Gets Me Through. It's a pretty good song. It's a pretty cool riff, but there's not a whole lot of stuff on here that's real memorable. I have this one as a C and I have this number 9. Again, I have this on the upper tier of what I call the bad Ozzy albums. So got some bad stuff coming in my opinion. And this just kind of, I don't know. I feel like this is like the last album for a while, at least, that it sounds like a band. At least it's a band playing. At least
Yeah.
It sounds like the band got together, got in the studio and did it. And I feel like later on, it doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels disjointed and it feels whatever. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But Down to Earth at least has that. At least I feel like there's 4 guys in the studio doing some songs and it hits a few times, doesn't hit more, but like I said, it's okay. It's a 9 and it's a mid tier. It's a C for me.
All right. Moving on to Black Rain, May 22nd, 2007. 10 songs. Ozzy and Kevin Churko produced this one. Zach Wilde's back again. This is 2007. Basically, he did the last studio original album, and then he didn't do the covers album, which is in between, which we're not going to cover. It was called Undercovers.
Yeah,
I think, or something
Undercovers.
like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, but Zach Wild didn't do that album, and I think at that time, he was definitely doing a lot of Black Label Society stuff. But he did come back and do this album. He left again after this album until 2022, and even then it was only on some songs. So this is kind of the end of Zach Wild with Ozzy. Although, does he still tour with Ozzy?
No,
No?
I don't know. I
Or
feel like maybe
didn't?
he was
Yes.
going right. He was going to tour with him, I think.
I thought he did when he wasn't doing the Black Sabbath stuff in like mid
Yeah.
2013,
I
whatever.
feel like he was supposed to be on that tour. I think that Ozzy just really never got to do because he got sick or whatever
Okay.
it was.
Okay. So last album with Mike Borden on drums. First album for Rob Nicholson on bass. Let's see. There's lots of strange electronic effects going on this one, more than usual, which I didn't care for. Again, it feels more produced, where before it was more, like you said, more of just the band. My favorites on here were Not Going Away, I Don't Want to Stop, Countdown's Begun. My skippers were Lay Your World on Me, The Almighty Dollar, and Here for You. I have this rated as a C. Mid-tier, I have this as 11. So this is down, bottom two for me. Well, I couldn't have this as 11 because I had the last one at 11. Anyway, nothing classic for Ozzy on here. Zach's playing is incredible as always, but the hooks and the great songs just they aren't here. The first two songs make this slightly better for me than the last two albums, Down to Earth and Osmosis, because I do like the first two songs quite a bit. So where did I have Black Rain?
You probably have.
I have it at number
10.
9.
Oh, 9. Okay.
Number 9. I don't know why I had 11 on here, but yeah, screwed it up again. So number 9. I have this as a C. What did you think of Black Rain?
So this isn't good. This is where it falls apart for me. This is where it gets disjointed and it doesn't seem to fit for me. I feel like this is like the first one where I feel like it's starting to sound cheesy, and it almost feels like Ozzy just needs to stop. It just he's reminding me he's not going away and he doesn't want to stop. But
I was gonna say I don't want to stop.
So I think the best songs off of this are the bonus tracks, which is Nightmare and I Can't Save You. I Love to Hate, I think. And those aren't on the original 10 songs on the album. Man, this is a rough listen for me. And this is number 10. So this just kind of tells you the direction that it's going. Like, I don't like this at all. I don't like these first few songs. I think it sounds cheesy as hell to me. Huh. I almost feel like like watching The Office, where you're like, man, I would love to crawl out of my skin right now. I actually feel like some of the end, the stuff on the end is better. I feel like maybe this is a better listening experience if you maybe go from the last song to the first song for me.
Huh.
I just personally, I don't like Not Going Away. I don't want to stop. I don't like these songs. To me, I Don't Want to Stop at least has a cool riff. I do like the chugging riff on it.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
It's a cool.
We've been over that.
Yeah,
that's my wheelhouse for guitar.
Yeah.
I love that chugging. I
Yeah,
love that, and not many people do it as well as Zach Wild.
Sure,
does, so
sure.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean
that's what grabs me on those songs. They're not great songs by any means.
Yeah.
Just I like the first two and number 9, so I didn't really like much in the middle of this album or at the end. I mean, Countdown's Begun I kind of like, but and Kevin Churko is co-writer on all of these songs, all time, which I thought was weird, but
yeah. So not my thing. Number 10, borderline unlistenable to me, but it's Ozzy, so I'm giving him a C-, and it's still Zach Wild. So number 10, it's gonna get worse for me, and I wish it didn't, but it's just not my thing. So number 10 and a C- for me. for Black Rain.
All right, on to Scream. June 11th, 2010. 11 songs. Ozzy and Kevin Churko again. Some of this to me sounds like Ozzy trying to be someone he is not.
Bingo.
Yeah, it doesn't it hardly even sounds like Ozzy in some cases on here. Now this is Gus G on guitars of Firewind fame. If any of you guys power metal fans out there knows
Greek guy, right?
know who Gus G. I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce his real name. But Gus G is fantastic guitar player. He's one of the best guitar players in the world still today. This is his only Ozzy album. I saw this tour. Halford opened, which was really cool here at Gund Arena or Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse, whatever you want to call it, the Q. But I got to, me and my buddy I work with, we got in the loge for this one, the company loge, which was cool because that doesn't happen very often. So I remember this one pretty well. It kind of stands out to me. We remember marveling how big Ozzy's hands are. I swear his hands are like, this big. Like I swear this man could palm basketballs with no problem. Like he would just do the clap thing where he'd clap his hands, and his hands just look gigantic. It's like they look like just something out of a cartoon. But it was funny. But the album itself, it's just I don't think it's very good. This is the first album since The Ultimate Sin to use his classic logo, the Ozzy Osbourne with the little lines, little dashes through it. Almost looks like it's kind of half crossed out. This is the first time he used that in a long time since The Ultimate Sin, right behind my partner here. My favorites are Let Me Hear You Scream, Digging Me Down, and Fearless. I like those, and then not much of the rest of it. Skipper's Life Won't Wait, Crucify, Time. There's some ballad stuff in here that's just not very good. I had this as a C. This I have as number 10. It's another okay album. It's not terrible, but it's not really good either. It almost feels like a goodbye too, with the really short "I Love You All" as the last track. I almost feel like maybe he was thinking like this was going to be it for him. I don't know. There's some lyrics in there that make it sound like it almost sounds like he's writing off his career into the kind of the sunset there. But what did you think of Scream?
Yeah, I'll give Gus G some credit because I know the guy can shred. He's a great guitar player.
Fantastic guitar player.
But man, I don't think this album sounds good. I don't think the songs are good. I just this is unlistenable to me, and not because of it being so terrible. It's just I don't get enjoyment out of it at all. You talk about slog getting through it. This one was the slog of all slogs. I honestly, I didn't really like hardly anything off of it. I kept hoping to get a few songs that I liked. Let Me Hear You Scream's okay. It's just because it's familiar to me. I had heard it in different, maybe a commercial or a movie. I feel like it was in a movie or something like that. Whatever the case may be, just not a whole lot of stuff here I like. I think the production's really bad. I think it's one of the. It just it clips and it's one of those that it blasts you.
Yeah.
I don't like it. It's uncomfortable to listen to. Nothing catches me. This is easily number 12 for me. I just had the hardest time getting into it when it first came out. I gave it a listen and I haven't gone back to it. And then I came back to it this week and definitely
still isn't good.
didn't get me any better there.
Right.
So I hate doing it, but this is a D+ for me. This is number 12 and just not enjoyable to me. I just, at this point, I was really hoping that Ozzy would hang it up. Just so many classic albums. It's okay to stop. It's okay to maybe go out and do a few shows and play your classic stuff. That's okay. You don't have to come out with new stuff, but just not my thing. If people like it, I don't understand why, but to each their own. Scream for me, number 12, D+.
Yeah, so I don't think we're too far off on these. Like these last 4 albums for me, okay? I got Osmosis, Down to Earth, Black Rain, and Scream. Those are the 4 worst albums for me. This is the bottom third of all of Ozzy's solo albums. So this is where I really I mean, it was hard to rank some of these because
Yeah.
they had a hard time. By the time I got to this fourth one, I was like, man, somebody save me. Like, this is, it's hard. Like, there's
Yeah.
not a lot of good songs. Like, there's, 6, 8 songs probably that I really like out of these 4 albums,
Right.
out of 40 something songs. Like, it's, man, it was tough to try to get through that stuff. But then he kind of did call it quits for a while, so he didn't come back until kind of a surprise album that I didn't know was coming out and didn't know he was even working on. Ordinary Man comes out in February 21st, 2020. That's almost 10 years after Scream came out. This one, Andrew Watt and Louis Bell produced. There's a lot of guest writers on this one. There's lots of guest appearances. There's Elton John. There's Post Malone. There's Travis Scott. There's Duff McKagan, Slash, Tom Morello. There's a whole bunch of guys, just on and on. Ozzy said that he felt like he should put out a new album, and he'd been feeling that way for a while, but he just felt like he didn't have the strength. But he credits Andrew Watt for pulling this album out of him. I feel like Andrew Watt, like, he's a younger guy. He plays guitar. He plays guitar in some of these songs. I feel like he wanted to kind of get Ozzy back and kind of get him with some current artists also, like Post Malone and Travis Scott, who were starting to take off. Like, let's see what happens if we put these guys together and see what a song might sound like, And the funniest thing I remember about this album is all the young fans posting, like, on TikTok or wherever,
I remember
about
that.
how about how they're like, hey, who is this Ozzy guy? He has a future. Like, Ozzy's 69 years old. They never heard of him, so because you listen to Post Malone,
Yep.
But there's comments everywhere on Twitter, all over the place, man. Who's this Ozzy guy? Like, wow, really? It made me feel old, but yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's better than I thought it would be. When I heard what was going on here, I was like, oh boy. But it's actually not bad. So I have this was a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Now, some of that might be because I just listened to those last 4 albums in a row and, whatever, but I did like this album a lot when it came out. I don't like it as much now as I did then, but I still feel like maybe I still like this a little more than I should because of listening to these all in a row like I did. But I'm really curious to see what you thought of this one, because I think we got your bottom 4 now. So, but I'm curious to hear. But this is got Duff McKagan on bass, among others. Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers on drums on all the songs, I think. Many guitar players, Slash, Tom Morello, Andrew Watt, and then some. My favorites are Ordinary Man, the title track. Under the Graveyard is a great song. Scary Little Green Men. Weird song, really weird song, but really catchy. I just remember liking that one when I first heard the album. I'm like, well, I don't know why I like the song, but I do. And I liked it again this time. And Take What You Want, I like too. My Skippers, Goodbye. I just kind of felt like that song was all over the place. I didn't like Eat Me, and I didn't like Holy for Tonight. Like those just they aren't great songs. But overall, I have this as a B. It's a solid B. I have this as number 5. This is kind of mid tier, but kind of the upper side of the mid tier. So I have this a little above halfway in this catalog. Surprisingly, a pretty solid album. Guest appearances were cool. I was surprised I liked it. Again, I didn't like it as much now as I did in 2020, but I still liked it. Listen to it now. Nothing shocked me more from Ozzy than Take What You Want, but it's a great song. That's the one with Post Malone at the end. It's a great song, and it's got like 700 million listens. Like, I think more than all of his other songs, which is crazy. So what did you think of Ordinary Man?
Yeah, you did miss one of my bottom 4, and this is it. This is definitely not my favorite later album of his at all. So, yeah, I'm not with you on this one. I don't like this one either.
You said it doesn't.
Yes.
Where you said it doesn't. It didn't feel like a band anymore after. I can't remember which album it was, but this is kind of the epitome of that. These songs don't sound the same. Like, they're kind of all over the place. And it really does sound disjointed and not like it's a band at all.
Right.
At all. And it really isn't.
Right. Yeah. So I had my hopes up because they released the single Under the Graveyard before the album came out, and I was like, man, this is the best thing that he's done in a long time. Um, Unfortunately, not a whole lot lived up to it to me. I do like the song "Ordinary Man" with Elton John. That's a cool song. I don't mind the one that you like, "Take What You Want." I like that one. The opener, "Straight to Hell," is okay. I like that one as well. But honestly, it just I was pretty defeated at this point. I didn't think I was ever going to get maybe the Ozzy record that I wanted. Um, didn't hit for me. This is number 11 for me. It's a D plus as well. I don't go back to it. I don't really have the urge to listen to it. I do like Under the Graveyard still. That's the one song off this that I think is a great song that kind of stands up. I feel like the album that they wanted to make / the album I wanted them to make came next. So I can't wait to talk about the next one way more
That's
than
so
this
strange because, yeah, to
one.
me, these two albums are really close to the same. I'm surprised you would like one
Yeah,
more than the other. The other
I
one's exactly the same thing.
not yeah, didn't hit for
Wow.
me. I don't know what it is.
Must have been Jeff Beck.
Maybe Jeff Beck,
I don't know.
maybe Tony Iommi, maybe Zach Wild.
Strange. Tony Iommi's only on 2 songs. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a little strange for me because I thought, well, okay, I thought we had your bottom ones because I thought these two being so close, I can't believe you'd rank one a
Yeah,
lot different
no.
than the other. But
I think this
okay.
is a swing and a miss, and I think the next one is a swing and a drive deep to
Wow.
left, way back at
Whoa,
the wall.
Beck, come on, it ain't gone.
No, it's
Oh
not.
man, come
But
on.
yes, yeah, no, this one I don't care for this one still. So I went back and listened to it, hoping I'd like it a little bit more, especially that I've had a lot of time with the new record. And no, this one still falls short for me. So this one is number 11, D plus. Ordinary Man, not my thing.
All right, on to the last album, Ozzy solo, at least so far. Patient number 9, released on 9/9/22. 13 songs. I guess Andrew Watt was able to pull another one out of him.
Yep.
4 days after Ordinary Man was released, Ozzy announced he was working on a follow-up album. So, again, this is just more of the same. It's so surprising to me. I mean, yeah, Tony Iommi's on 2 songs, and I actually have a note in here that I can't believe, like, can Tony Iommi, is there any end to the riffs that this guy comes up with? Is there just any end? It's
He's a
unbelievable.
machine.
He
Yep.
is a machine. I don't even know how old he is. And in 2022, those two, just great stuff. Great stuff. Lots more guest appearances here. Jeff Beck, rest in peace. Eric Clapton, Mike McCready, Tony Iommi, Zach Wild, Robert Trujillo again, Duff McKagan, Taylor Hawkins, RIP also on drums, and Chad Smith again. This won a Grammy for Best Rock Album, but even more writing collaboration than an Ordinary Man. It's just an alphabet soup of names in here. I didn't even want to try to mention them all, but there's a million. There's a Tamposi. There's just all these people that I don't know who they are. My favorites on here are Patient number 9, Parasite, No Escape from Now. Again, is there no end to great Tony Iommi riffs? It's unbelievable. Degradation Rules, another one. Tony Iommi, awesome. Didn't get a writing credit on that one though, which is weird, but it's definitely Tony Iommi.
Oh yeah.
So no doubt about that. My skippers, 1,000 Shades, Nothing Feels Right, God Only Knows. I didn't really care for those 3 songs, but for me, it's about the same as the other one. I like 4 or 5 of them. I don't like 3 of them. There's a couple more songs on this one. This one I have as a B-. I have this as number 6. I had Ordinary Man number 5. It's just another solid album. There's great riffs on here from all the guitar gods again. Even the Jeff Beck stuff was great on here, which I was surprised that I liked. But wasn't a big Jeff Beck fan. But there's some really good stuff on the song that he's on. But that is Patient number 9 and 1,000 Shades. Sorry, both of those. But I just feel like Ordinary Man had the better songs, more catchy. That's the only difference for me between the 2 albums. So, all right, the floor is yours, man. You obviously liked this a lot more than I did, which is, I don't know.
Yeah, this is great stuff.
Let's
man.
figure out why you like this one so much more than Ordinary Man.
Well, it just goes back to what I said before. When you listen to Ozzy, either it's stuck in your head and you
Yeah.
want to listen to it again, or it goes in one ear and right out the other, not memorable. That's the difference for me. With me, Patient Number 9 has a bunch of songs that I sing all the time when I'm just sitting around.
Mm.
Patient Number 9 is so catchy. I love that the chorus and the riff, and the beginning is a little cheesy with the "Mama no" like that.
Yeah.
I could go without that, but
Yeah.
that would cut it down to about 5 minutes, which would be good.
Some of the stuff he adds, like along the way, like the background stuff, like the
It's
baby's
silly.
crying. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about this album in particular, but like different, like just questionable stuff. Like, why? Why is some of this in here? You know,
Yeah.
it's weird choices. But anyway,
Yep.
sorry, go ahead.
But no, I just basically that's it. This is the first album basically since probably, I don't know,
Osmosis,
maybe Osmosis. I don't know
probably for you, right?
where it just have a lot of songs that they just stick with me. A lot of them that you named, the Zach Wild stuff, just it's like a breath of fresh air. He's on like 4 of these songs, and those 4
Yeah.
songs are awesome to me. I love the Tony Iommi songs. You mentioned Degradation Rules. I love that song. A diamond in this is One of These Days with Eric Clapton doing the riff of that. Man, it's so bluesy, and then it kicks in with the da 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 da. It's just I love it. Like, to me,
It's not a skipper for me, but that's not Ozzy. That's not Ozzy. So
man,
that's my problem. That's the bluesy. That's a Clapton song. That's not Ozzy. Like,
well,
that's just
it
too
is
far away.
just
You
that
know?
bluesy part.
It's a
only
cool
that intro.
collaboration between the two of them, but I don't know.
It's just that intro. When the riff kicks in, and I think if I'm correct on this, I think that Zach Wild doesn't just play on the featuring. I believe he plays the rhythm guitars on a lot of these songs as well. So Zach is all over this. So yes, while that bluesy Eric Clapton part, I agree, it sounds a little out of place. But once the bluesy solo at the beginning is over and the da 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 da, like, to me that's where the song starts kicking ass. And I love the chorus of that hey lost my mind. It's just so good. I sing these songs all the time. It's just this album to me is catchier personally than all these other ones. Uh, it pushes it all the way up to number 5 for me. Which is, I think, where you have the last one, Ordinary Man. So
Yeah, I had this one at 6. That's
okay,
funny.
yeah, like I don't find that
Oh,
they're the
man.
same. I think he stepped up his
I
game with this one. So I guess it's just what songs you find catchy, and
Yeah.
for me,
Yeah.
this is it. Was a breath of fresh air, and I was so happy. And I was even pretty negative when this came out. I remember when they released Patient Number 9, the song. I remember talking to Brian like, man, here we go again, just another album, just whatever, kicking the can down the road. And I love it. I this has grown on me, and I listen to this album all the time. I probably do one listen through of it maybe once a month or so. I like it. It's in my rotation. So definitely Patient Number 9, good. If this is his last album, which I heard he's doing another one, from what I'm
Probably
hearing,
announced it 4 days after releasing this one.
probably. So
As
we'll see. I do like
long as Andrew Watt's not too busy.
I like Andrew Watt. Me and Brian saw him with the band with Glenn Hughes, California Breed. They opened for Alter Bridge maybe 8 years ago, something like that. Was pretty cool. It was a pretty cool band. I did like Glenn Hughes and Watt playing together. Like, who's this young kid with this mop of hair and like a little guitar wizard? So it's kind of funny that he ended up. I assume it's because of Glenn Hughes that they know each other. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't even know if they're friends. But anyway, what did give me your list? 1 to 12.
12 overall Ozzy solo albums. I have number 1, Ultimate Sin. Number 2, No More Tears. Number 3, Blizzard of Oz. Number 4, Diary of a Madman. I feel like the top 3 to 4, there's kind of a line there. Those are, for me, quite a departure from these middle ones, which I have Ordinary Man, number 5, Patient number 9, number 6, Bark of the Moon, number 7. Those are kind of all together. And then No Rest for the Wicked's kind of on its own. And then Black Rain, that's 8. Black Rain 9, Scream 10, Down to Earth 11, Osmosis 12. Those were the 4, 9, 10, 11, 12 that I really had a tough time rating and getting through those this time around. So that's what I had. What did you have for your overall ranking?
So number 1, Ultimate Sin, same as yours. Number 2, I had Diary of a Madman. Number 3, No More Tears. Number 4, Blizzard of Oz.
Same
Number
top
5,
4.
yep, basically that makes it
Just-
pretty easy. Number 5, I had Patient Number 9. Number 6, Osmosis. Number 7, Bark at the Moon. Number 8, No Rest for the Wicked. Number 9, Down to Earth. Number 10, I had Black Rain. Number 11, Ordinary Man. And number 12, Scream. Not great stuff to me. So I'm glad he came back with one that I liked, because I was pretty down up until that last one. So yeah, great.
Unfortunately, it seems like his touring days are over. So
Yeah, well, I'm glad
we're ever going to get to see him again. So
that's where I'm thankful for Ozfest, because
yeah,
I got to see Black Sabbath a few times. I got to see Ozzy solo stuff
bunch of times. There was some of those tours where he did both. He did a solo set and a Black Sabbath set.
Yeah, so good stuff. I'm glad I got to see him, and
yeah, me too.
We were talking a little bit before the pod with Ozfest. Those are like core memories for me. Those are like the best times of my life doing those. And again, like, you squeeze everything in one day. Now you go to the festivals, and everything is 3 days, 4 days, and this was just you got to go. You go from 10 o'clock in the morning till midnight, and you get to see
It's like the circus, right?
Yeah,
traveling
exactly.
circus. It's crazy.
I love it.
Traveling music circus.
So, okay, announcement for next week. We will not be live on Tuesday. We have crazy schedules next week. I'll be out of town. Mr. H has some shows. So we are going to probably either do a Friday night show or a Saturday matinee. We'll talk about that. We'll try to get that announced whenever we can. But we will.
So not this weekend, the following weekend.
Yes.
So the weekend before Thanksgiving, right?
Right.
So we'll do a Friday evening or a Saturday.
Yeah, we'll
late
see
morning,
what
early afternoon show. Although,
but
all the people watching right now, hey guys, just saying, we won't be on live next Tuesday. I don't know what you guys are going to be doing with yourselves, but since nobody's watching anyway.
Mr. H, all of our great fans watch on demand. So
yeah, it must be. So it doesn't matter when we record it.
Right. You'll be waiting.
It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. It wouldn't matter.
Exactly. So we will be doing my favorite band, Opeth, and it will actually give Mr. H a little extra time, because he really is not. Yeah, he's not super familiar with their stuff, and they have a lot of albums. You will be spared one album, because they should have had the new album out by now, but it was delayed for, I think, 2 more weeks. So I think we're not going to make the cutoff from the new record. But you will have, I think, 13 other albums to listen to. So you'll have an extra week, though. It is almost a week and a half to listen to them. So best of luck with that endeavor. It's all good.
Yep.
As always,
I've
everybody.
like some of it. So
I'm
actually looking forward to it. I don't feel like it's going to be a tough task or anything.
I think some of it will be a slog for you.
Sure, like everybody.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
Anybody that's got that many albums, we were talking just a little bit before the podcast. Anybody that's got this many albums, you're going to have your few that you like and your few that you don't, and you're going to have a whole bunch in the middle, because if you hated most of their stuff, you wouldn't really be a fan of them.
Sure.
So you're generally, if it's a band you like, you're going to have a lot of middle stuff that isn't their greatest stuff, but still sounds like them, that you can't really just throw away. But, so and then you're going to have your bottom few that just kind of don't sound like them, or they're trying to do something different or whatever. So it's, it'll be good. It'll be good.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for listening again. Please, if you like what you're seeing, because we are getting some views. We don't have people that are there live for us, but people are watching. Please leave a like, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Give us some suggestions. We're getting close to the end of the alphabet. Well, we're in like late to middle now, but we're going to make another round going when we start again. So, let us know.
We've had a couple people, say that they wanted to see certain bands, and we'll definitely consider that. So
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, leave a like, subscribe, please, and
leave us a comment.
Yep. And thanks again for watching, even if it's on demand. Thanks for watching, and we will see you. We will see you in the next one.
Rock on.
Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately.
I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob.
What would you say you do here?
God damn it. Bob, we love playing here tonight. My brother's ready.
It helps if you think of it as a game, Bob. Every game has a winner and a loser.
You must possess strength to inflict pain, Bob.